Howdy, light travelers. Welcome back to the overnight shift here at Travel Light Adventures, the show where we talk about stuff in the dead of night. It is I, your favorite fedora-wearing host, and the topic of today's video is going to be the Humphrey's Peak hike that I took back during the summertime. I want to do a little bit of a debriefing of sorts, talk about what I brought with me, some safety stuff, and maybe how you can do it too. But anyways, enough rambling here in the intro. Go ahead and grab a drink or a snack and settle down and get ready for a good video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Before I really get started with the video, I would recommend going and checking out my first video of me actually doing the hike. That way you can watch these videos in order. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to check out this one, that's perfectly fine. I will hit the highlights in this video, but I really appreciate it if you checked out the first one. But anyways, a little bit of backstory and explanation. Humphrey's Peak is the highest point in Arizona above sea level. It's over 12,000 feet. I forget the exact elevation off the top of my head. I'll go ahead and pop it up there on the screen for you so you can see. But anyway, I digress. It's the tallest point in Arizona, and it's actually a dormant volcano in the San Francisco Peaks, which are the highest peaks in Arizona. And this hike to the top, depending on which way you take, is just as rewarding as it is challenging. It's very beautiful, but it takes a lot of time, so make sure you set aside a lot. But I'll go ahead and talk about my experience before I talk about what you need and what you can use to do it. I will start out by saying a couple of things. One, this video is going to cover the westward approach from the Arizona Snowball to the top. There are a few different other ways that you can get to the top. I know that some people will go up to the inner basin, to the east side. I believe there's even a trail that comes from the north that you can do this with, but the west side is generally noted as the quickest and easiest, and with my time frame, that worked out the best for me. Now, enough of that. The second thing is I wasn't the smartest when I was doing this hike. I did it in August, and if you're not that familiar with Arizona's weather patterns, August is called monsoon season, which is basically Arizona speak for afternoon thunderstorms like are seen in a lot of other states. And here the thunderstorms can be really intense. There's lots of lightning, so it's generally not a good idea to be exposed at a high elevation because you'll be a prime target for a lightning strike. So I did take that into account, and I also did note there was a 1% chance of precipitation on this particular day, so I felt as though I was good to continue. I was totally okay with stopping the hike and going back down if I deemed it as unsafe, but I was pretty confident that I was going to be able to make this ascent on that day. And also another not super smart thing I did is I started very late. I didn't get to the trailhead until 9:15 in the morning. I had to drive a long ways to get to the trailhead, which is part of the reason why. This one is not one that you can really get away with sleeping at, just because it's at the Arizona Snowball, which is a ski resort, and they're very restrictive. There's a lot of security, so you have to stay somewhere else before you go up to the trailhead. And there's very few camping spots along the way, just because of its proximity to Flagstaff. But I digress. The recommended time to start this ascent is sunrise, or even before sunrise at this point in the year, for those reasons that I mentioned. But like I said, I felt like I was good to continue on this particular day. This hike is also labeled as a very challenging hike, not so much for the ascent portion, although there is over 3,000 feet of elevation gain. It doesn't track with, some mountains like the 14ers in Colorado, but what does make it difficult is, like I mentioned earlier, there's nowhere really close to stay to help yourself acclimate with the change in the oxygen levels in the air. Because your closest places that you're going to be able to stay are Flagstaff, which from the top is about a mile in elevation difference or more. Flagstaff is at about 6,500 to 7,000 feet in elevation, and the start of the trail from the Snowball is at about 9,000 feet. Now, if you're doing an ascent from a different location, such as the east side, the inner basin, you are going to be able to acclimate as you go because you can camp further along the way, but it's a little bit more difficult from the west side. Now, I will mention that once you get up on the trail, you can camp in the forest until about 11,000 feet. That's when you're not allowed to camp anymore. So if you did want to do that and backpack in and camp in the forest on the west side, you can do that. But acclimation, like I said, from Flagstaff straight up to the top is definitely a lot more difficult. Before I go any further as well, I'll go ahead and rate this hike in terms of difficulty from my personal experience. So I'll just go over some specs for the hike. This is somewhere between a 10.5 and 11 mile round trip hike. Online it says it's less, but it's most definitely more. It's about 10.5 to 11 miles, like I said. There's over 3,000 feet of elevation gain. Trail bed is going to be very rocky. It's a lot softer and smoother at the bottom, and the ascent is a lot more gradual. But the further you go up, the steeper the trail gets, and also the shiftier the trail bed becomes. There are a lot of difficult sections once you get close to the top. I will tell you the last 1.5 miles of this trail will make you earn it. It will make you or break you. There is a section on the trail where you're going to get up to a saddle. I'll probably throw the footage up there as you've been seeing some of the B-roll from the hike. But there's a saddle that you come to, and once you get to that saddle, you're about 1 mile and change from the actual summit. Now, from the saddle, there's lots of false summits. The volcanic rock is very shifty. You have to be very careful where you stand. Very small steps, and in some sections, you've got 1,000-foot drops on either side. You have to be very careful as you hike, and this is the main reason why I'm adding or putting this at an 8 out of 10, just for this section right here. I will tell you, it can take you just as much time to get from the saddle to the summit as it does from the bottom of the trail to the saddle. It can be like that. It was almost like that for me just because I wanted to make sure I was stepping in the right places. Because like I said, you could step on a rock, and that volcanic rock, it's not typical, rock that you're encountering in a summit. You step on it, it moves. You just have to get used to that. I did a very gradual ascent on this hike. I started at about 9:30, and I didn't make it to the top until about 1:30. I did about 5 miles and change in about 4 hours. This was just due to the fact that I was enjoying stopping and taking the scenery, also stopping to film, and stopping to have some snacks and some water along the way. Now, back down, the descent, I did that quickly. That only took about 2.5 hours. I was flying down that mountain. Once I got past the saddle on that first section, where it will literally take you over an hour to get from the summit to the saddle on all that shifty volcanic rock that I mentioned, once you get past that, you are flying. I think I made it down that section, the whole 4 miles, in about an hour. I was moving. I would say if you're doing that, just be careful. It's a twisted ankle waiting to happen going down that mountain, because some sections are very steep and it's very rocky. So just be careful as you go. That pretty much sums up my personal experience from this hike. It was very, very enjoyable, even the sections with all the volcanic rock. One very interesting thing that I will note is there was no summit registry. I looked all over for it. I probably spent more time looking for the summit registry at the top than I did enjoying the actual views. And I spent quite a bit of time up there enjoying the views. But I digress. Now I'll go ahead and talk about some know before you goes and need to knows about this hike. The first thing I'll talk about is the weather. Most people don't realize northern Arizona gets quite a bit of snow. Around 100 inches in a season is pretty typical for Flagstaff, so there's going to be snowpack on the top of the mountain from mid to late October until the beginning of June. If that's something that makes you uncomfortable, or you don't have spikes or anything like that, I would say the summer window is your prime spot for hiking up this mountain, which is going to be early to mid-June until the end of September. As for things that your ice spikes are going to grab onto, it's going to be your shoes. You need to be confident in your shoes. I don't mean taking your favorite pair of hiking shoes up to the top. No, you need good tread, good footing. It's going to be hell on your feet. I will tell you that right off the bat. There's rocks everywhere. You're going to trip. This whole hike is a literal twisted ankle waiting to happen if you're not paying attention. So you need to have good footing that you are confident in. Next thing I will definitely recommend is water. Now, I know we talk about water a lot in terms of hiking, but because of the sheer elevation changes, I'll be honest with y'all, I took 1.5 gallons of water up this mountain. Did I come back with quite a bit? Yes, but it's always a good idea with higher elevations to take twice as much water as you think you need. I didn't quite take twice as much water, but I figured 1.5 gallons was more than plenty. So that's what I took up there. Make sure you take a whole bunch of water with you. And another thing I will recommend is hiking poles. Definitely, 100%. Now that stuff's pretty much out of the way, I want to talk about something cool that you can bring to the top that you can have a good time with up there. And I personally don't have a pair of these with me, but if you have them, would definitely recommend bringing them. And that's a pair of binoculars. On a clear day, you can actually see the curvature of the earth from the top of Humphrey's Peak. And that's why we recommend bringing some binoculars, because there's a lot that you can see. This is a very prominent peak, so you're going to be able to see a lot. You can even see to the Grand Canyon on a clear day, which is almost 100 miles away. So if you've got a good pair of binoculars, I would definitely recommend bringing them to the top with you, just for all the stuff that you can see. But in terms of this hike, that's pretty much all I got for you. If you have any questions or anything about it, go ahead and drop a comment down there in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer. And if you have any other ideas that you'd like me to make a video about here on the overnight shift, same thing, drop a comment down there and I'll see what I can do. But that's pretty much all I got for you tonight, I should say. And thank you for watching. Maybe consider hitting that like button or subscribing. Both are free. Thank you for checking out my channel. We'll see you next time.